Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, back and back it on up. Hey, back and back it on up. Hey, back and back it on up. Hey.
T. Hey, we are live. I need to adjust my lighting settings here just a little bit. Hey, there we go. I think it's a little bit better. A little bit better. Well, Zach, it's been a good day around here. I just got done eating some pork chops and mashed potatoes. With some
It hadn't been
gravy
good
and
over here.
broccoli.
It has not been good over here.
Not good, man. I mean, I went and played a few holes of golf, came home, ate a pork chop.
Good for you.
Watched some Monday Night Football a little bit, you know. Fantasy's been kicking tail this weekend.
Hey. Now, I did get me a dub in fantasy this weekend.
Hey.
My guy, Josh Allen went. Here's my mistake, though. I left the Buffalo Bills.
In my league too.
I left the Buffalo Bills defense on the bench, and I left Cade York on the bench. Big mistake. Cade York put up 16 points.
Brutal.
As a kicker.
Hey, just a little piece of advice. You may want to leave the Bills defense out there. Probably got the best defense in the league.
Here's why I did it. Look, the Saints, I have the Saints defense. They were going up against the Dookie Bird Atlanta Falcons. And the Bills were going up against the dadgum defending Super Bowl champions, right?
Right.
So I'm like, so they project for the Saints to do a little bit better than the Bills. So I was like, all right, I'll put the Saints in.
Projections.
And
can't trust them.
And then the New England kicker, Folk, whatever his name is, he projected to do a little bit better than Cade York.
Yep.
Like, all right. Let me tell you something, Reagan. I'm not putting the Buffalo Bills or Cade York on the bench the rest of the season until it's their bye week. Period.
No, you should have known better on Cade York, man. You should have known better.
Literally walked it off. Literally won the game.
Yeah. Dude's cold.
16 points.
Why you
drafted? But guess what? Bro? It didn't matter. It didn't matter because I still destroyed my competition. Your boy also, I think, was like the second highest in points for the week. And that was with like 30 to 40 something points on the bench. Oh, more than that. I didn't go back and look at it. But anyways.
Yeah. I was very pleased. I was very pleased with my fantasy this week. I had already won the game. I also have Jerry Jeudy playing tonight, and he caught a 67-yard touchdown just to add salt to the wound of my opponent. But nonetheless, it's been a good weekend. It's a good start to the week. Been a great start to the week. And, hey, the Tigers won. Wow. The Tigers win.
Quick update.
Brian Kelly's.
Quick update. That's how much points is on my bench right now.
Oh.
Yet I still won. Almost 90 points on my fantasy team bench. And yet I still won. And Clyde went off for me. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep.
22.4 points for me. Anyways, I'm sorry. I got a little excited. I haven't really.
I tried to tell you about fantasy. I tried to tell you it's fun. It makes it more interesting. I tried to tell you.
It's pretty fun.
I tried to tell you. But anyways,
all I can say is look out, JetX Fantasy Football League, because your boy's coming. I left almost 90 points on the bench.
Nonetheless, LSU also won in pretty dominant fashion, the way you wanted it to go, the way you expected this to go.
For sure.
For LSU, obviously the big theme was sense of urgency. We saw that, but I don't want to get it too much into that. We'll get ahead of ourselves. We We want to recap the game, discuss the game some more here in a little bit. But, Zach, gosh, holy smokes. What a weekend in college football. Holy cow.
Great weekend in college football. Maybe not a great weekend for some fan bases.
I'm about to say,
but
it
for
ain't a
college
great
football
weekend
in general, college football in general, great weekend.
It was a great weekend. I mean, it was a fun weekend, that's for sure.
We got some fan bases to dog, Reagan.
Hey,
we got some fan bases to dog.
Hey, look, I don't want to shove stuff down my throat too soon, speak too soon, but I don't know. I don't know if Brian Kelly was your problem. Notre Dame fans, they weren't your problem. It's not your problem. BK wasn't your problem. God, dog. Look, it is death, taxes. This is in the words of the academic dean here in Williams Baptist University. In the words of the academic dean, Sir Dr. Ryan Putman, death, taxes, and Notre Dame being overrated. And I say, amen, sir. Amen.
Amen.
Overrated.
Preach.
BK was never your problem. The eighth ranked team in the country should never lose to Marshall in your own stadium.
Are they still
A&M
ranked,
fans.
Reagan? Are they still ranked?
A&M fans, you should never lose to Appalachian State as the sixth ranked team in the country. This is why preseason rankings mean absolutely nothing.
Reagan, did you know that in the last four seasons, Texas A&M has had a top 7 recruiting class? Appalachian State, the highest rated recruiting class in their last 4 years, 63rd.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
and A&M has been a top 7 class in the last 4 years.
Now, look. There are some transfers that are on those teams. I mean, Chase Bryce at Appalachian State? He's the quarterback that transferred from Clemson. So he's not like a horrible quarterback, right? But look, all right, let's focus in on one right now. We'll focus in on the A&M one, first, since I'm already talking about it. Chase Bryce did transfer from Clemson. But look, Appalachian State in week 1 allowed 66 points to a middle-of-the-pack ACC team, North Carolina.
Yeah.
They allowed 66 points.
And A&M couldn't do
A&M scored one offensive touchdown on them.
And Max Johnson didn't touch the field.
The other touchdown came off of a kickoff return from the same player who scored the first touchdown. That is the only player you got. HE is like the only player they got rolling for him right now. Look, A&M's got some dudes at receiver. Evan Stewart, Anais Smith. There's one other dude. I always forget his name. But there's another dude. All three of the guys are studs, but they ain't got nobody throwing the football to them. And the offensive scheme is stale as a saltine cracker. I mean, just awful. I mean, terrible. So much for Jimbo Fisher being a quarterback whisperer. Holy cow. Hey, LSU probably dodged a bullet twice on Jimbo. Am I wrong?
No.
Did we dodge a bullet twice?
I don't think so.
2016, deal was done. Joe Oliva obviously screwed that up.
Thanks, Joe Oliva, for sucking.
We all know. Look, and I'm willing to admit it. Now, look here. Listen to this real quick. I've been sick, okay? I've been sick and tired of seeing people in the media, on Twitter, on social media in general, acting like Billy Napier chose Florida over LSU. Like LSU pursued Billy Napier and missed because of Florida.
No.
You're
False.
tripping. You're
False.
tripping. You think Billy Napier is our first choice? You think now I'm not discrediting Billy Napier. I think he's a great coach. But you think we're going LSU last 3 national championship or last 3 coaches won a national championship? You think we're going after ULL's coach before Notre Dame's all-time winning coach, Brian Kelly?
They freaking contacted Dabo. Like,
do you see the logic in the thought process in thinking we missed on Billy Napier, then went and got Brian Kelly? Like, really? That narrative's got to end, number one. But
agreed.
Hey, maybe we dodged a bullet on Scott. I will admit, Scott Woodward wanted Jimbo. It's already been reported. We offered him tons of money. I'm glad he said no.
Yeah.
Because, dude, you have unlimited resources at Texas A&M. There's no excuse. No excuse whatsoever. That booster organization at Texas A&M, that program will fork out any dollar amount. Number one, for NIL deals for all these recruiting classes. Number two, for any coach you want to bring to this staff as your assistants. So there is, you got top-notch football facilities down at Texas A&M. Kyle Field ain't no joke. And you allow Appalachian State to roll in there and beat you? You have one less win. You have one less win than what Kevin Sumlin does throughout his tenure, the same amount of time. It's inexcusable.
Yep.
I think we dodged a bullet twice, Zach. I'm pretty pleased with who we got.
I don't disagree, bro. I do not disagree. I mean, it's got to be extremely frustrating for A&M fans. Like, I'd be
livid.
Look, LSU fans, we were down in the dumps. After the Florida State game. I mean, I got to be honest. I was pretty down in the dumps after the Florida State game. It was rough, especially driving all the way down there. It was rough. But
you can't be with the future in sight, though. The future's in sight.
Exactly. But also,
they've had this dude for years now.
You could be Notre Dame. You could be Texas A&M.
Yeah. Tell them about Notre Dame, Zach. Tell them about Notre Dame and Marcus
Freeman.
Freeman.
Be Texas.
Golly.
Y'all, they're 0-3 since Brian Kelly left. They're 0-3. You're worried. The biggest criticism has been Brian Kelly can't coach the big games. Brian Kelly can't handle the big games. Marcus Freeman struggled and lost in a cupcake game. Now, Marshmallow. What's what we're going to call them? They are a marshmallow. Marshall is a marshmallow for Notre Dame. You should roll over them. Now, no disrespect to Marshall. They've got a pretty good program over there, and they recruit pretty well, for a lower tier school. And they've competed, but
they ain't got the talent Notre Dame's got, though.
No, that should be no problem. And they looked horrible. You know who else looked horrible, Reagan? They won, but Auburn looks terrible.
Oh, Auburn, yeah.
Now we'll talk about this, Reagan. We'll talk about this when we get to our last segment. But after this weekend, after watching Texas A&M, after watching Auburn, after watching Arkansas, after watching Alabama, things have changed.
Look, bro, every now and then we as LSU fans have to, on our own accord, you gotta like take the purple and gold glasses off, right? And see things for what it is, right? Like you got to take your bias, you got to set your biases aside sometimes when there's things happening. Notre Dame fans need to take the gold flecked glasses off right now. You are so blinded by the tradition of the Notre Dame program. Guys, you ain't won the national championship in 34 years. Your last 5 coaches ain't done it. You might not have a coaching problem. You probably got a program problem. Maybe not a problem, maybe something that's holding you back. And there is. I mean, if Notre Dame wants to be the best school academically in the country, keep doing what you're doing. Notre Dame is a top-notch academic school, high standards, an excellent school. I'm not going to take that away from Notre Dame. But when you have those expectations, you limit yourself to who you can bring into your athletic programs. When you have when you got like a 5-star, Zach, I mean, you have 5-star receiver, 5-star running back, whatever it may be. If they got like people, if you got like a 3.5, which is a good GPA, that's A's and B's, bro. You can't get into Notre Dame with that. So guess what? That recruit ain't going to Notre Dame. Guess where he can get in? Bama, Georgia, Clemson, LSU, A&M,
Ohio State.
You can be making A's and B's and not get into Notre Dame. Like, you cap yourself. You put a ceiling on yourself for what you can do. Yes, Notre Dame has the tradition, the story of Rudy, the movie, the NBC deal from back in the 80s. Like all of this tradition, touchdown Jesus, the gold helmets. There's tradition galore. But college football is a different world now. Notre Dame ain't the only team on TV anymore. You can turn almost any college football game that's playing on a Saturday on the TV. Yep. I mean, you can turn almost any game on that you want to.
With the ESPN app now, you could
anything.
ESPN Plus, you can watch just about you can watch FCS games. FCS
it is a completely yes, it is a completely different world. And Notre Dame fans have to understand that is your problem. I hate to call it a problem because putting academics first, yes, is a priority, but you have very high academic standards. Extremely high. Nothing wrong with that. But it limits who you can bring in. I mean, Zach, is Duke that good at football?
No.
Is Duke that good? Why? Extremely high academic standards. You cannot bring every recruit in. Is Stanford that good at college football? Are they an elite program contending for a national championship every year?
Above average at best.
Right. Because you cannot bring the top-notch recruits in because of your academic standards every year. It is something that is a good thing for your academics. I mean, that is the number one reason you go to school. Nothing wrong with it. But if you got a kid who's a 5-star and he's making A's and B's, it might not be good enough to get into Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. If that's what you want to be, so be it. That's what you're going to be. You're just not going to win a national championship. But if you want to be a national championship contending team, maybe loosen up just a little bit, so some players can get in there. Because I guarantee you there's some dudes that want to go to Notre Dame. I think they would. But you got a ceiling on top of yourself. So BK was never your problem. Honestly, Marcus Freeman probably is a good coach. Probably not going to be your problem. Eventually, if he keeps losing, you'll make him the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, starting 0-3 is no excuse. Losing to Marshall is absolutely no excuse.
And
that is a Marcus Freeman problem.
That is a coach.
That is a Marcus Freeman problem. That's on him.
For sure.
So, but Notre Dame fans, you got to take the gold glasses off. Take the luck of the Irish glasses off of your eyes. Like, take your leprechaun glasses off and see it without biases. It is what it is.
There ain't always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yes. So, anyways, I'll step off the soapbox for a second. But, guys, this past weekend in college football was boy, it shook some things up. All right, we talked about A&M. We talked about Notre Dame. How about Alabama?
Yeah,
Bro.
that was pretty surprising. That was pretty. And then, but they better be thankful they've got a freaking Heisman quarterback.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
And they better be thankful that Quinn Ewers went down early because he was tearing it up. He was tearing it up.
If Quinn Ewers stays in that game, Texas wins.
Texas wins.
How
many times did they get in the red zone? They had to settle for a field goal because that Hudson Card's limping.
Yeah.
Like you had your starting
backup quarterback limping around.
Your backup quarterback's limping the entire game.
Yep.
And you almost lost if it wasn't for your Heisman quarterback.
Zach,
the offense does not look good. They don't have wide receivers, Reagan, and they don't have an offensive line.
Yes. That's what I was about to say. When have we seen Alabama not have receivers that could just blow the top off or get open
or an
and make
offensive
things
line
happen
at once?
I mean,
Jermaine Burton's supposed to be that guy. He's supposed to be the.
He's not that guy.
But
he's not that guy.
He's not.
He's not. He wasn't that guy at Georgia. That's why he left.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, he ain't that guy. He's not. And I'm not saying we're going to beat Alabama this year, but dude, they look vulnerable.
They sure do.
There are some
they
weak
look
spots.
very beatable.
And holy moly, that has to be the most undisciplined Alabama team.
Over 100 yards of penalties
under Nick Saban I've ever seen. 15 penalties?
That's bad. That's bad.
It's really bad.
Yep.
Ray Powell asked if Aaron Anderson played. I'm pretty sure Aaron Anderson broke his leg or something like that. I'm pretty sure he's battling an injury, if I remember correctly. But Aaron Anderson did not play. I do not think so. I think he has an injury. I may be wrong on that, but I think I heard that he had an injury. But, oh my goodness. So Bama has clear weaknesses. That was, when you mentioned it, that's the number one thing that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Why are these receivers not getting open? The only people that were moving the ball was Bryce Young and Jahmyr Gibbs. That's it.
Jahmyr Gibbs is their best player outside of Bryce Young. I mean, he's their
offensively,
best player.
yes.
Period.
I mean, Texas was pressuring him, was wreaking havoc. The receivers are not getting open. I mean, it was, I don't know.
Jahmyr Gibbs was your leading receiver. I'm looking at it now. 74.
Yes, I was about to say.
He had 5 more receptions than the next than a receiver. The next
as your running
receiver.
back. Yeah,
as your running back. Jermaine Burton had 2 receptions for 10 yards.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in the last segment. But look, this past weekend, and I know this one isn't as big, but I think it is because there's always week 1 overreactions, right? Florida beats Utah. They're the number 7 team in the country. They come to Gainesville. They lose.
Against an
Then
unranked
Kentucky comes.
Florida team.
Yes. And then Kentucky, and everybody's like, oh my God, Anthony Richardson might be a Heisman candidate, right? And then Kentucky comes in, and Anthony Richardson did not look good.
Nope.
I mean, he did some good things, but he didn't look good. Anthony Richardson has the lowest completion percentage in the SEC right now. Right now. So, all of that being said, this past weekend, LSU ain't by any stretch of the imagination. LSU isn't by any stretch of the imagination like just out of this.
I agree.
I think there is always week one overreactions. Brian Kelly takes LSU to New Orleans. Yes, 3 quarters it looked bad. 4th quarter you looked excellent.
You also
the
consider
looked great, and you literally
Mike
got the job done.
What?
But you had a PAT blocked, and they overreact, right?
And you had several mistakes. Several mistakes.
Many mistakes.
And I mean,
it looks like
what
on special
season
teams
is Mike
have already been
Norvell in?
corrected. Yeah, he's in his 3rd
What
season.
season is Mike Norvell in?
And Jordan Travis
And
is
you've
in
got
his 3rd
a
season.
third.
Yeah.
And you've got a very experienced and really good defensive line that they had. Their offensive line proved their offensive line proved to be a lot better than people thought, and their wide receivers proved to be a lot better than people thought.
So we easily, if you correct a few which the mistakes happen, Zach, I so wish, which, you can always say this, but I so wish LSU could have played somebody before Florida State, or at least Florida State doesn't play Duquesne first.
Yeah.
Because when you go and smack Duquesne across the face, you got a lot of confidence coming in your next game. Winning big builds confidence, so you go play confidently. You go smack their mouth. Now you go play LSU in New Orleans, right? Like, it's on. Whereas LSU, it's your first game, new coach, new staff, new players, new quarterback. It's a packed stadium. Like, this is right? The confidence isn't instilled yet. This is your first time running the offense in game. So you really wish LSU could have played somebody first. Or at least Florida State doesn't play Duquesne, then that game's probably differently, right? Like, if these mistakes on your special teams happen against Southern or whoever you play in a week 0 game, or maybe just a week 1 game before you go play Florida State, you make those corrections, and that game's probably a different story. The 2 muff punts don't happen. If you play with a sense of urgency more against Florida State instead of starting slow, all of those things, you probably win the game. And you almost did win the game.
Yep.
So, by no means is LSU just out and done. The overreaction is, oh, we're through already. Anyways. All right, Zach, let's get to some comments and let's move on to talking about the Southern game. Big weekend in college football. Really gets me excited for this coming weekend. And we'll talk about this coming weekend on our next episode. But let's get to some comments real quick, and then we'll recap the Southern game, Zach.
All right, Tyler Townsend coming in here. Appreciate you coming in, Tyler. He says it's 7-5. It's Texas 7-5 now instead of Texas 8-4. Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Texas A&M, especially with how they looked. I don't know. Maybe they can get it together, but it's gonna be tough for them to not be 8-4, 7-5.
Surely,
especially after that.
Surely you try Max Johnson out.
Surely you do. We'll see.
I think Jimbo's not an idiot coach.
Which, I mean, I don't know if you heard this, Reagan, but Carl mentioned it. Jimbo said Max was going to come in, but they ran out of time. What? You ran out of time? Like,
you ran out of time, bro?
What are we gonna do? Bring him in the last possession? Like,
you watch A&M, you watch your offense stall the whole game.
Yep.
Good
Bad.
Lord. You scored one touchdown, one offensive touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's – you probably see Max Johnson this week.
Brandon.
They're playing
Reese,
they're playing Miami. Miami's coming to College Station.
That's massive. That's massive. Bro, I mean, I might pick we got our picks coming up. I might pick Miami.
Tyler Van Dyke may come in there and dice that up.
Most of LSU's opponents looked beatable this past weekend. We're going to get to that, Brandon. We're going to get to that.
Yeah, we're going to get to it.
Carl Dunn mentioned this first Notre Dame coach to start off 0-3. If you're listening on the audio podcast, you probably heard a snicker a little bit during a conversation. Brandon Reed, this is what made a snicker. Brandon Reed said, "What about Eli Ricks?" Yeah, that was. I never want to hate on a kid. I never want to hate on a kid, but you could be starting right now.
Is he hurt?
No, he went out and played special teams, bro. He was on special teams unit. He ain't hurt. You could be a starting corner right now.
Hey, bro.
Opposite of Jarrett Bernard.
Hey, bro. How you let a dude named Kool-Aid beat you out? How you let a dude named Kool-Aid beat you out?
Dwight McLaughlin looks better than him right now because Dwight McLaughlin is killing it over at Arkansas. All right. Brendan Reese also said if LSU plays the way they did against Southern going forward, they can pull off some upsets. I don't disagree there. I do want to talk about the Southern game because I believe there also doesn't need to be an overreaction with the Southern game. But
100%.
Anyways, normal guy. Not sure who this is, but I love the background. My Saints. Who dat? Pulled off the big comeback. I know, Reagan, you're not as big of a Saints fan as I am.
I'm a Bengals fan, so I'm pretty.
That was awesome. I mean, I am too. I'm more of a Saints fan, but yeah, I watched the Bengals and I was standing up nervous because I wanted Joe, and they pulled it off, and then they couldn't freaking make a field goal twice.
Well, it was the long snappers, definitely the long snappers.
The long snap, two high snaps, high snaps.
The backup tight end in there, the long snap.
Yeah.
Because the dude tore his bicep or something like that. Brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. Normal guy. I'm not sure who this is. Are you going to reveal yourself, normal guy? All right. He says, "What up, Zach? What's up, my guy? What's up, normal guy? I am also a normal guy. But not sure who you are, but glad to have you in here, man. Keep joining us." Ray Powell said, "I hope Jaden Daniels comes back next so we can return the O-line for year 2 under BK." I doubt. I really highly doubt.
I wish he would come
Jaden
back.
Comes back, but we'll see. We'll see. Brandon Reese said if they lose to Miami, they'll probably at least lose 4 or 5 more games. I don't know about that, Brandon. We'll see. They're not going to lose to Auburn. I don't think they lose to Auburn. I don't think they lose to. Oh, I don't know, because they probably would lose to Arkansas. They'll probably lose to State. Probably lose to. I don't know. We'll see.
I wonder who their East teams are.
Normal Guy is part of PHL family for Carter. Awesome. I know I've seen Normal Guy around either on Twitter or in Carter's chats. So, Danny Girl, good to see you here. Guys.
Yeah, what's up?
So this Friday, quick announcement before we transition, take a break and transition here. This Friday, we're going to be doing a trivia. I've decided, Reagan, every month, once a month, we're going to release a trivia question. On a Friday, the first Friday of the month. Now, we didn't do it this past time because Reagan, was sick. Anyways.
Appreciate that.
But
appreciate
that. So we're going to do some trivia this Friday. And if you want to get a chance, Danny Girl made me think of it because she tried out our first trivia. She did all right. She had a correct answer, but it wasn't the correct answer. On the last trivia question, JP ended up winning our last trivia.
Yep.
So we're gonna ask a trivia question this Friday. So y'all be ready for that. And whoever wins is gonna get a free TA merchandise item. Okay. It can be the bucket hat. That's kind of our signature. But if you want it to be something else, you can also go and check it out. And we'll show that here shortly. You can go check out our merch and pick out something once you win the trivia. So, anyways. She said, "I don't need no stinking participation trophy. I lost." We ain't giving you a participation trophy. Just win the next one. We got you, Danny Girl. We got you. All right, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Those that are going to be joining us next Friday to enter into the trivia question. Maybe you can find something on here you like. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to recap LSU Southern and discuss the future for LSU football this season. Tigers Avenue is proud to announce that we now have TA merchandise. You can find all of our merchandise by heading over to tigersavenue.com and clicking on the merchandise tab. We have everything from t-shirts, hoodies, shorts, joggers, hats, and beanies. We've even got shoes, Converse, and slides. Head over to our accessories tab where you can find blankets, bumper stickers and license plates, magnets and stickers, mugs, bottles, and tumblers, phone cases. You can find tech and office and outdoor products like a mouse pad, a puzzle, a notebook, and more, all at tigersavenue.com. Head on over to tigersavenue.com today, click the merchandise tab, and get yours now. You like that?
Yes, sir.
A little bit different. We had to do that. We had to do that for our audio podcast because if we ever listen on the audio podcast, you just all of a sudden hear a song. When I got this way, you don't know what's happening. So I had to put a little audio in there for our merchandise.
There you go. Yeah.
So
Hey,
anyway.
Go buy some merchandise.
Your chance to
So-
win some free merchandise this Friday.
Zach, of course, we got to talk about. We talked about college football as a whole this past weekend. We got to talk about the LSU Tigers. Historic game, first time you ever played Southern University. Team about 11 miles from your campus. Baton Rouge against Baton Rouge, Jaguars versus Tigers. So yeah, it was a historic night, and of course, Human Jukebox was in there, their famous band, and it was a great night. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. The stadium was packed. It didn't stay that way though, for a good reason. So LSU dominated, 65-17 was your final score, and it was over in the first quarter. It might have been over, Zach, on the opening kickoff. I mean,
as soon as that happened,
holy smokes.
At least in my mind, I thought it was over.
The emphasis of the week being start with a sense of urgency. You got it. You got it this week. LSU goes out and has its highest scoring quarter in program history.
Yep.
In program history. That includes the 2019 season. You go out there and you put up 37 points in the first quarter. And, I mean, it kind of became pretty obvious why this game probably hasn't been played yet, right? I mean, no disrespect to Southern, but, you have mutual respect for the schools. You don't want to bring them in and just humiliate them. I mean, I think there was a lot of respect in what was done. I don't think you humiliated them. Well, maybe, but anyways, there was a lot of
the second half was only 14-14.
Yeah, it's all it needed.
14-17, actually. I think.
Yeah.
It was 14-17.
Oh, they outscored the second half.
Outscored you in the second half.
They're a second half team.
The sky is falling. Southern outscored us in the second half.
But look, no, I mean, look, Zach, obviously you can't overact on this game. I mean, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the biggest thing that I wanted to see is I wanted to see what LSU did. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see, because I think there was, maybe in the back of some LSU's fans' mind, this lingering thought of, what if this game is closer than we like? Like, what if this is like a 30-something to 17 ball game? You know?
Oh, Lord.
And LSU went out and scored 30 in the first quarter. And you were like, all right, Reagan, it was the first, I think it might be the first time in watching LSU football that I was like, okay, I'm going to flip the channel. I'm going to change it. I mean, honestly, it really was. Like, I've never, even in blowouts, I've never like changed the channel. At least while I was playing. Maybe while on a commercial break, I flipped it. But while the game's going on, I don't flip the channel from LSU football. I flipped the channel from LSU football during this game.
It happened so fast.
I mean, it was boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I mean, you had the fumbles, you had the interception, the tipped interception. That when Micah basketball, good grief, the dude just went off this game. But
yeah, he's got to play more.
I think you cleaned up some areas where, even though it was the level of talent was far insuperior, you cleaned up in some areas that you were a mess in against Florida Southern, mainly special teams.
Special teams are great.
Not Peyton Todd, excuse me. Jay Bramlett averaged over 40. I think he averaged around 44 yards a punt. You brought in the walk-on to receive punts. He fielded everything cleanly, and he even got a pretty good run back.
Great. He looked great.
Good. I mean, everybody's kind of like, whenever the ball's coming down, and you're seeing it, you're like,
oh yes,
you know, like your butt cheeks clench a little bit, and you're like, okay, all right, we're good. Pause, but like, we were good.
I know.
We were good. He fielded the punts cleanly, and looked good. Even got a pretty good return on the first one. I think an 18-yard punt return. And so those were things that, even though it was the level of opponent, you improved on. You cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
Now what we're gonna have to wait and see is the offensive line, because I really fully believe it doesn't matter who you throw out there in that game. Offensive line, they were going to dominate that game. They were going to get pushed. They were going to dominate. I think LSU did do a little bit better of establishing the run. I think, again, the majority of that was due to the level of opponent. And we'll get into this when we discuss all this on Friday, but this weekend is going to really determine, if LSU made corrections on the offensive line and in the run game. This week. Yeah. This weekend will determine.
You also get John Emery back.
Not this past weekend. You also get John Emery back, which was big. I got to be honest though, I'm still not impressed with the running game.
Sure.
I mean, I know they had some big big breakout runs, but I mean,
Armani had a few really good runs.
There was a few times though, Reagan, where they got stuffed in the backfield. And the defensive line came through the offensive line, and they got stuffed in the backfield. I mean, there was too many times for my comfort. Early in the game.
I didn't see you many times early in the game where it was.
There was two or three times in the first half.
I mean, during the second half,
the second half
quarter, I definitely
we don't count that. Second half, we don't count that. So
regardless, the opponent. I mean,
Jaden Daniels again. Phenomenal. He was 10 of 11.
Very efficient.
I don't know why people continue to question his accuracy. And it also, I mean, we saw this, but it was very. I want to say, I'll say this, and it might come off wrong a little bit, but it was very evident that they wanted to get Kayshawn more involved, and I agree. Get Kayshawn more involved. He's your best player on the field, but it seemed a little forced, honestly. I think that needs to
build
kind of
some
flow,
confidence.
But I get it. Against that team, completely understandable. To me, it seemed a little forced. Because what kind of message does it send when you're, when you got a player that's kind of upset and whining in the Florida State game that he's not getting the ball, although he had 4 drops, and if he catches the ball there, he has a pretty good day. But, what kind of message does that send? I'm not a really big fan of that, but
I also would say maybe his attitude wasn't too much of a pouty, I'm not getting the ball. I also think he was beating himself up over the drops. There was
Probably.
there's definitely some of that too. So you give the
Probably.
dude you number one, you put the ball in the playmaker's hands. You want to put the ball in Kayshawn's hands.
And he made plays.
Was it intentional? Yes, it was intentional. Did he need some confidence? Did he need to make the ball move a little bit? Yes, it needed to happen. So was it forced? Was it intentional? Absolutely. But I mean, I understand why. I mean,
I'm also glad you mentioned that. So I'm also glad that Malik got a confidence builder, got a touchdown. Had a really big catch from Garrett Nussmeier. Brian Thomas had a really big catch. Now Jaden underthrew that ball, but I think he intentionally, underthrew that ball because he was so wide open. At that point, you just don't want to miss.
Yeah.
You just don't want to miss
You
just don't want to miss a guy. So, that's fine. I don't think Jaden, threw that ball because of he just messed up. I think that was
it also don't matter as
So
in this type of game doesn't matter. Like I'm sure hey, he's this wide open, let me play it safe, make sure
exactly.
he gets it.
I think the two biggest takeaways for me was there is no quarterback controversy, period.
No, absolutely not.
Because Garrett struggled and made some really poor decisions against a really bad team. The pick six is inexcusable. Like you're like this. You ain't Garrett. All respect to you, dude, but you're not Pat Mahomes. Like you can't sidearm that thing while you're falling down, and there's no receiver anywhere in sight. Like you,
I feel like if the player was reviewed, it would also been called down. Like I'm almost 100% positive that dude was down.
Regardless,
just take the sack. Just take the sack.
You're blowing them out. Take the sack.
Take the sack.
The forced ball when he's trying to redirect traffic, that was bad.
Off his back foot, spinning around.
Off his back foot. He didn't
right
see the
hand.
Safety.
Yeah.
And that is why Jaden Daniels is
hadn't committed a turnover.
Who still hasn't committed a turnover. Yep. That's why Jaden Daniels got. He's experienced. He hasn't turned the ball over. And he makes smart decisions. I have full confidence in Garrett. I think Garrett could potentially be our guy next year. But he's got to be smarter with the football. And we've had a whole new coaching staff transition over. And you're still making the same mistakes that you were making in the last coaching regime. That's a Garrett Nussmeier problem. That's not a coaching problem. That's a Garrett Nussmeier problem. When you see it happening in both groups.
I think there's also a little bit of effort. Like you're the backup guy. You want to go in there and make something happen.
Catch up.
You're forcing a little bit more than probably he would normal. But still, it is the same problem. Turnovers is still the same problem that he had. Guys, Jaden Daniels is number 1 in QBR rating in the SEC. Number 1.
Stop
the
sleeping
dude has
on
been
the
very
man.
efficient. He's very efficient. And you give this dude some time. We have elite receivers. I think this team can be very good this year and have a very solid year. I think the play of the night for me, there was a few times last week. I mean, he was running for his life, so I'll cut him some slack. Jaden Daniels probably did get out of the pocket a little bit sooner than he needed, and he's definitely getting a pass for that. But I loved the touchdown pass to Jack Besh.
I agree. That's the play of the game.
The moving out of the pocket, extending the play, comes to the line of scrimmage, and instead of tucking and running, sees the open receiver, fires it in, on the run, an accurate throw to the back corner of the end zone. I mean, Jack had to get out and get it, but like receivers are expected to do that. He made a throw on the run before the line of scrimmage. Instead of taking it when he very easily could have, he makes the throw to the open receiver. It's a touchdown. It was a great play. That was my play of the game. For me, that was my play of the game. It was awesome. So I was really encouraged with that. Maybe he wasn't as happy feet to take off But the recognition that he saw that and made the throw was really encouraging for me. So, Zach, I mean, it's something to build off of. It's a confidence booster. You were able to create some mistakes. You got State ahead this week. We're going to preview State in our next episode. In Baton Rouge, you got State. But, Zach, let's talk about the future a little bit. We've talked about LSU this past weekend. And we also talked about the scope of college football and how it got flipped upside down from what everybody thought. And I think it should give LSU fans some hope and some better perspective on the season than, oh boy, we just lost to Florida State game 1 by 1 point. The world's falling. We're going to go 7-5. We're going to be 5-7, right? As you saw this past weekend, LSU ain't going 5-7. There's going to be games that LSU is not expected to win. They're going to win. There's past 2 seasons, LSU has won games that they were not expected to win, that they did win. So, and you have a much better coaching staff that's going to make adjustments throughout the season. So, Zach, let's talk about how LSU still controls its own destiny. You have not played a single conference game yet. You got your first conference game this weekend. LSU still has everything in front of them. Yes, you lost the first week by 1 point. You make adjustments. You try to correct the problems. You move forward. This past weekend shed some light of hope. I mean,
it really did.
A&M looks winnable. Florida looks winnable.
Auburn
looks winnable. Your tough games are Arkansas, Bama, and Tennessee. But Bama definitely has its problems, and you get to play them in Baton Rouge. So there is
and
still
Tennessee's
hope for this
defense.
team.
Tennessee's defense doesn't look, fantastic.
Look, hey, I'm gonna tell you right now. Now, this may be too many connecting of the dots. This may be one too many connecting of the dots. Pitt plays West Virginia game 1. It was a tooth and nail fight. Yes?
Yep.
West Virginia just lost to Kansas.
Tennessee almost lost to Pitt.
And Tennessee went tooth and nail with Pitt. So, look, I'll tell you right now, Tennessee's offense looks good. But it looks like Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman. Is it Cedric Tillman? I know it's Tillman. I know it's Tillman. Can't remember if it's
Tillman.
Cedric. But that's like their offense, bro.
Yeah.
Like, they got some other receivers that are going to make some catches. But, like, when he was going downfield, when he was taking shots to the end zone,
it was Tillman.
Like 9 times out of 10, it was Tillman.
Yeah.
So, and their defense, you could definitely move the ball. I mean, if Keaton Slovis stays in that game,
they win the game.
Like, Pitt was in the same situation Texas was. Keaton Slovis gets hurt, and then their backup quarterback rolled his ankle and played a very
same situation.
A very gimpy last, several possessions. Like, it was the exact same. Like, the dude could barely make a handoff. He was so gimpy. Like, so you get Tennessee in your stadium. You get Alabama in your stadium.
Yeah.
Auburn, you go to Auburn, but Auburn looks like it don't look like
Trash.
Brian Harsin is making it out this year.
You put
It don't look
24
like he's
points
making
up against San Jose State.
It was a touchdown game, bro.
They don't even know who their quarterback is.
A&M just lost to App State. You got to go to Kyle Field, but App State just beat them in Kyle Field.
Yep.
I think the most daunting teams in the West the most daunting teams in the West right now is Arkansas and State.
Arkansas and State, yeah.
Ole Miss is not impressive. I have friends that I talk to weekly that are Ole Miss fans, and guys, I've said it since the beginning before the season started. Jackson Dart ain't that good. I'm telling you right now, this past weekend, my buddy who's an Ole Miss fan, he thought Luke Altmaier was about to take the job from him. Luke Altmaier. He ended up getting hurt. So now Jackson Dart's your guy. Jackson Dart ain't that good. They ain't got all they got is
Zach Evans.
Shoot. Zach
Trigg.
Evans. I was trying to think of the receiver, not Trigg, the returning receiver. Gosh, I can't remember if it was Sanders or Mingo. I think Mingo's gone. But you lost Mingo and Drummond, and you have Sanders. And they're guys. Ole Miss defense looks like a group of 5 defense. These are very winnable games. So LSU controls its own destiny. Zach, how do you feel? It's me. Okay, so Sanders and Drummond both left. Braylon Sanders and Dontario, whatever Drummond, left last year. Those were their weapons, bro.
Jonathan Mingo
and Matt Corral.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart is very overrated. He is average at best. And you get them in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
So, Zach, with all that in mind, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot more confident than I did after Florida State, that's for sure. Because, outside, there were some teams week 1 that I wasn't as impressed with. But there were some games I was like, I don't know. I don't know if LSU can win them.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, they can go beat Texas A&M in Kyle Field. They can definitely beat Auburn and Jordan Hare. They can go beat Florida in Gainesville. They can beat Alabama at home. Who would have ever said that?
Look,
now,
here's
that
my
may change. That may change, right, Reagan? Because that may be that game for Alabama. Yeah. And that game may be what gets Alabama back to being Alabama. So, but right now, as it looks like, LSU could beat Alabama at home. LSU could beat Tennessee. All these games now I look at and I'm going, LSU can win that game. Every single one of them. Now, the one that is the farthest away that I think is Arkansas. Because Arkansas looks good, but their defense doesn't. You just gave up 30 points to Spencer Rattler and they should have scored more.
Arkansas is also very one-dimensional. They rely very heavy on the run game. Very heavy. The passing for Arkansas, it's there at times, but the run game they rely on very heavily. Very heavily. So, if you go on the road and beat Auburn, you go on the road and beat A&M, and then you pull off a few games at home, it's going to, you could be competing for the West this year. I think the West is a wide, it's going to be the Wild West. I think there's going to be some teams beating up on each other. I would make the argument that the East is stronger this year. Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida. Now, Florida just lost to Kentucky, but I would put Florida at 4th. Up on each other. I would put Florida at 4th so far. In the
Georgia, Tennessee,
I think the East is better this year.
Yeah.
So, I would put Kentucky at 2 right now because they just went into the swamp and won.
I agree.
Tennessee
and Will Levis got rocked the whole game, and they still won.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, it's okay. There's a lot of games LSU is going to compete in. There's probably going to be some games you end up losing that maybe you expected to lose. There's going to be some tooth and nail games. I really think it is. But as it stands right now, I think the one I would just chalk up a loss would be Arkansas. The rest of them, I think, are fair game.
The scary thing about regular state, the scary thing about it is, a lot of them feel like coin flips, and that's what's scary.
Yeah, and what's crazy is ESPN Power Index has LSU favored in a lot of the rest of our games. Now, I think Vegas I think Vegas will end up having that differently. But if I remember correctly from this morning, ESPN Power Index had a lot of LSU games favored in LSU's way after this past weekend. I mean, LSU, point being, so we're already at an hour, 2 minutes here. Point being, Zach, LSU controls its own destiny. We ain't played one single conference game yet. Overreactions from week one definitely happened. Definitely happened. So settle in. The West is going to be wild. And there's some games LSU can definitely pull off. And all I'm saying is, if Brian Kelly beats Bama year one, I don't care what he does in the rest of the games. I do not care. I do not care. I expected this year to be a 8-4, 7-5 bowl game type of year. It can still be that year. If he beats Alabama, I'm the happiest fan you will ever see. I do not care. We could lose every other game. We beat Bama, I'm good. I'm good. After this past weekend, if you exploit them weaknesses, it's a very winnable game, Zach. They control their own destiny.
Yep.
So LSU fans, it's going to be a lot of fun. You got to start with State. And I think State is one of the top teams.
Big game this weekend.
Look, Danny,
who's been telling y'all? Who's been telling y'all?
Hey.
Who's
Will
been
Rogers
saying
is
it?
good.
Who's been saying it? Remember, Reagan, when I said, I'm worried about State? Ray said, I don't know about it.
Now, I mean, I told you about the Ole Miss one, but State's still State. State's still State, okay? And I'll take BK over Mike Leach. Will Rogers is good.
Y'all should have listened.
Will Rogers is good.
Should have listened. Should have listened to me at the beginning of the season when I said LSU might lose to State. Y'all should have listened.
But also, they played Memphis and they played Arizona. Okay? They played Memphis and they played Arizona.
Time to play the big boys for both teams.
Now you got to buckle your chin strap and you got to come to Death Valley at night.
Woo!
It's a different environment.
I need this week to get over with quick. I need this week to zoom by.
All right, Zach, we're an hour, 5 minutes in. We need to hit some comments. We need to hit a break. And then we need to wrap this show up. Let's throw some comments in there. Get our fantastic fans in.
Some upsets. Wholeheartedly agree. Most media people and fans were ready to throw a parade for Napier after that Utah game. How's it look now?
I honestly still think Napier will do good. I'm not throwing the towel on him.
To beat Utah,
but the overreaction, yes, to react like, oh, it's a better hire. Brian Kelly lost game one. Billy Napier won game one. Well, they win. They won the hire. LSU lost, right? Like that's overreaction.
Oh, Danny Girl said East Georgia 1, Kentucky 2, Tennessee 3. I agree with that. Reagan mentioned that. West Bama 1, Arkansas 2, 3 is a toss-up. I also agree with that. I mean, I know Bama struggled.
I'll take State, 3.
Put State at 3. You know, if LSU wins this weekend, maybe LSU. LSU. I really feel like. I mean, but like, I feel like that statement there by Danny Girl, like the East, I would put my money on that. The West, heck no, I ain't going anywhere near it. I ain't going anywhere near betting.
It's wild.
She also said this is going to be a fun year, fun SEC year for sure. Can't wait to see everyone keep picking each other off one by one. I just hope they ain't picking us off one by one. That's all I care about.
That's right.
Doug knows. What's up, man? I love, dude. I've seen this guy's been on the AYS show a lot, dude. I love
Doug
the profile. I haven't gotten to mention that to you, Doug, because I'm in the background for Blake's show. But I love,
Sumlin.
Yeah, like it's Jimbo looking in the mirror, and it's Kevin Sumlin. Which, by the way, you saw a stat, Reagan. Kevin Sumlin, his first 50 games, 36-14.
He's better. He's a game better than him.
In your first 50 games at A&M, 35-15.
He's a game better. Yep.
He said Carter seems pretty confident. What does he seem confident in? The win against State? I would love it. I would love it.
Hey,
If
get
Carter's
that last
confident,
comment. I want to talk about that last comment real quick. That
it'll
last
be
comment.
interesting to see
It'll
who
be interesting to see who Nebraska
hires.
hires. Let me say something real quick. Okay, number one, the Sun Belt had an amazing week. Georgia Southern also beats Nebraska. Scott Frost is finally fired from Nebraska. Almost said Notre Dame. Nebraska. For all of you Nebraska fans, let me tell y'all something. You better take Sam Pittman off your list because it ain't happening, Joker. I'm going to tell you something right now. I live in Arkansas. You will have to split hell wide open to get Sam Pittman to leave Arkansas right now.
Yeah, he ain't leaving
Sam
Arkansas.
Pittman is Arkansas's Lord and
He's
Savior
home.
right now. They worship Sam Pittman. They love Sam Pittman. For all you Nebraska fans, there ain't no Nebraska fans watching, but I just got to say it. Nebraska fans that think Sam Pittman's going to be on their list, you're tripping. You are not. You are not
Tripping.
pulling Sam Pittman, who has one of the best teams in the SEC West right now in Fayetteville,
Yeah, no.
whose fan base would do anything for him. He ain't leaving. It ain't happening. To go to Nebraska in the Big Ten. You want to go be a Cornhusker? That's almost as bad as being a hog. Oh, my gosh. We go Husker
Let's
corn.
see.
God, that is not happening.
Brother
Not
Reese,
happening.
Jake Crane thinks Hugh Freeze would be the best hire. I
don't think.
mean, that'd be good.
I mean, yes,
honestly,
it would be
yeah.
the best hire. Yes. I don't think Hugh Freeze leaves Liberty for Nebraska.
You never know. Doug knows. He said, yes, Carter thinks LSU beats State by 10 plus. That gives me confidence because I trust what Carter says.
I would love that.
I trust what Carter says. Carter is
I
very,
love that.
very, very smart individual when it comes to football. And he
would love
really
that.
knows how to analyze a game. So, and he does film study, and people that do film study, they know what they're talking about. Now I'm not saying he's going to be 100% right, but that honestly gives me some confidence for LSU against State, knowing that Carter has got them winning by 10 plus.
Yep.
That's encouraging. All right, Ray, let's take a break. And
Hit a
then
break. We'll wrap it
will
up.
Be
Yes.
dismissed.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. 5-Star Hero. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Wow. I just watched the Broncos kick a 64-yard field goal in Seattle to try and win the game. And it was very close. 64-yard field goal. It was very close. Russell Wilson goes back to Seattle and loses his first game as a Denver Bronco. It's Monday Night Football. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man, that kick was close. It had the distance. Well, guys, it's been a fantastic show recapping the weekend. What a weekend in college football. What a weekend for NFL football. Holy cow. How many games ended because of a field goal? This game just ended because of a missed field goal. I mean, incredible weekend in all of football. This is why we love football. Football is incredible. Favorite time of the year by far. LSU's got a big one this weekend against State. We'll be previewing it in our next episode on Friday here in the Tigers Avenue with our cousin, Leighton Jeremy, who is a State fan. Pumped to have him on the show. He'll give us some great insight on all things Mississippi State football for this upcoming game. So y'all be tuning in for that. so we can preview the game all together, get to your comments, your questions about the game. It'll be a great episode. We'll see you then on Friday. 5-Star Hero, take us out. Peace.
Who that 5-star? Who that 5-star? And the LSU Tigers, LSU Tigers. Who that 5-star?